Can you leave? My sister's coming home to give birth.
My husband Travis wanted to kick me out of our home because his sister, Angelina, was coming back to her family home to give birth at a nearby hospital. That's absurd, I argued, not buying into his unreasonable request, but he wouldn't listen and eventually threatened me with divorce. Feeling utterly disheartened by his attitude of cutting me off entirely, I agreed to the divorce and left the house. But even after our separation, Travis kept sabotaging my life. Little did he know. Karma was about to catch up with him. Hi, I'm Sherry, 34 years old. I was working as a nurse at a hospital, completely absorbed in my daily routine. I met Travis, who works in pharmaceutical sales. When he came by my workplace, our relationship blossomed from there. And a year later, we tied the knot. But just as we got married, his parents, who were running a factory from their home, decided to shut it down. His parents were elderly, and for the past few years, it had just been his mom, Melissa, and him trying to keep the business afloat. But due to the economic downturn, they decided to close shop. Travis, however, felt a sense of duty and decided to take over. I tried to dissuade him, saying a job in pharma sales was more stable than running a failing factory. But Travis is stubborn. Once he makes up his mind, there's no changing it. So we ended up moving in with his parents almost immediately after getting married. At that point, Travis felt motivated to turn things around, and so he decided to renovate the old family home and factory. The construction started in no time.
Wow, it's really coming along. I'm so glad we decided to add this terrace. We can have barbecues in the summer.
I can't wait. Initially, I was skeptical, but his enthusiasm was infectious. Once the New Year celebrations were over, our new home was ready, and our life with his parents began. Here's to a good life together from today. Thank you. I'm really happy we could make this work. I know Travis can be a handful. I was initially worried about how his parents would take to me, but they warmly welcomed me. They seemed happy to have a daughter-in-law who was willing to support their son as he struggled to keep the family business going. That night, while arranging pictures of our travels in our new bedroom, Travis walked in.
Wow, Sherry, this space looks great, just like you said.
I know, right? I'm glad we finally have a place to put up our photos.
Thank you for sticking by me through all this.
You're making me blush, thanking me like that.
Don't worry, I'll make the factory successful and give you an easy life.
Don't push yourself too hard, but I'm excited. I felt genuinely grateful for respecting my husband's ambition to build a brighter future. However, 2 months later, Melissa received a message from Angelina. It read, I want to go back home and give birth at a family hospital near our home. I'll be back the week after next. Upon hearing this, Travis was overjoyed, raising both arms.
We have to vacate our bedroom for her. We don't have any spare rooms.
What? I don't like that idea.
Why not? It's for my pregnant sister. I can sleep in the study, so it's no problem.
What about me?
Well, you can sleep in the kitchen or the hallway, I guess.
That's ridiculous. Let's clear out the corner room on the second floor for Angelina.
That room is cramped and full of clutter. How about you sleep there instead? I've made up my mind, right, Mom?
If Travis says so, let's do it that way. I object. I'm fine with Angelina coming, but I don't want to give up our bedroom. I was upset that my husband would dismiss my feelings to accommodate Angelina and that Melissa readily agreed with him.
Stop being selfish. This is my house.
Please, bear with it for a little while. I don't accept this. It's my house too. As I continued to object, Travis's face tightened, clearly getting irritated. Then he spoke words of surprise.
What? You're my wife. You should understand.
It's odd for you to claim this as your home when you're just my son's wife. What?
A wife isn't family, you know? If you hate it so much, just leave.
Why? Angelina left home when she got married too.
She's my sister. We share blood. Plus, her unborn child could be the heir to this house. Right now, I want to prioritize a potential heir. If you hate it that much, go back to your family home.
I was taken aback, unable to come up with a quick retort. I felt disgusted that Travis was already considering the heir issue upon hearing Angelina's baby was a boy. And there was another concern on my mind. What about our child? You said you couldn't think about having kids until the business was stable, so any child will do?
Enough! Enough! I'm fed up! If you can't obey me, let's get a divorce.
Fine by me. Bring it on. Until now, I've always respected my husband's wishes, but this time I can't let it go. In a fit of anger, I agreed to the divorce. No regrets. I'm convinced I can't go on with this man. My husband, unable to contain his anger, stormed off somewhere. I seized the opportunity to pack my bags and leave. As I was about to go, my husband reappeared with the divorce papers in hand.
Here's what you wanted. Now sign it, quick.
That was fast. You're a lifesaver. As I grabbed the divorce papers and started writing without hesitation, my husband muttered something unpleasant in my ear.
You're stupid for choosing divorce over this. I thought you were smarter. Don't come crying back to me.
The stupid one might be you.
What did you say? Just go. Vanish.
Spewing venomous words, my husband retreated into his study. I finished the divorce papers, left the house, and submitted them immediately. I never thought I'd leave my husband like this, but I know I made the right choice. I resolved to move on. I went straight to a real estate agent and quickly signed a lease for a condo near work. I had a few days before moving in, so I stayed with a coworker. When I explained the situation, she offered her support, promising to be there if I needed her. A week later, I completed the move to my new condo and began my new life. But peace didn't come easy. About a month into living alone, I noticed I was being followed by a man named Travis. I ignored his unsettling presence until a coworker came up to me with alarming news. Your ex-husband was here earlier, spreading rumors that you cheated on him, and that's why he was dumped. What? Don't worry, no one's taking him seriously. We know you didn't do anything like that. I'm Team Sherry all the way. Thank you. He probably couldn't forgive me for finally standing up to him. He must be trying to make me regret my decision by harassing me. But I thought if I just endure this a little longer, he'll quit. I apologized to my colleagues for the disturbance and went about my days, pretending not to be rattled. A month later, just as I'd hoped, Travis stopped stalking me, and I thought I was finally in the clear. But I would soon find out how naive I had been. One day, after coming home from work, I checked my mailbox, only to find rotten fruit inside. I had a gut feeling that Travis, who had followed me and discovered where I live, was behind this. Day after day, I'd find dead insects or filthy objects in the mailbox. This was harassment, beyond tolerable levels. Just when I was considering reporting it to the police, it suddenly stopped. But the moment I let my guard down, something new appeared in my mailbox. This cycle continued. 3 months after I had moved out, Travis finally called me.
Hey, it's me. Can we talk?
Sure. I agreed to meet up at a cafe near my home. I wanted to confront him face to face. It had been a while since we saw each other, and Travis was noticeably uncomfortable.
How have you been?
How? I'm not doing great, thanks to you. You realize what you've been doing is criminal, right?
Yeah, I get it. I'm sorry. So come back, will you?
What are you talking about?
I regretted kicking you out on impulse. Can we start over?
There was no way I would agree to this. He'd been harassing me all this time, and now he was trying to lure me back? But deep down, I knew this was coming. You're calling because you're in a financial crunch, aren't you? It's pretty obvious.
That's not it. I didn't want to divorce you. I realized I love you.
Really?
There's no one as kind as you.
Suddenly, Travis grabbed my hand and pressed it to his cheek. I felt my skin crawl. and quickly pulled my hand away, then got to the point. Pretty convenient for you, huh? You're behind on the house payments, aren't you?
It's not like that. I'm saying we should live together because I need you.
Throughout our marriage, I supported you in every way, yet you did everything you could to sabotage my new life. Why should I forgive you so easily?
I need you to pay the mortgage to afford living. Please come back.
Travis pleaded, his hands clasped in desperation. But I had no intention of forgiving him for the harassment I had endured. Actually, the house we rebuilt was in Travis's name, but I was the one covering the mortgage payments. And to make matters worse, the family business wasn't stable because we had to close the factory temporarily for renovations. So basically, I was the financial pillar for Travis's family. Kicking me out, he should have known money would get tight. Now you're going to realize how much you've messed up. The only thing waiting for you is a world of pain. Then he showed his true colors.
I'm apologizing here. What's your problem? Fine. I don't care about you anymore. You better remember this. I'll make sure you won't be able to work.
I decided then and there, it's time for some serious payback. Fast forward a week later, I visited a lawyer to discuss alimony and the ongoing harassment I had been getting from Travis. Thankfully, I had video evidence of Travis caught in the act from our condo's security camera. I also got advice from the lawyer that I could claim emotional damages, so I had them send Travis the full legal documentation. Travis, now panicking, reached out to me, and we agreed to meet at the law office. I'll be filing for alimony and damages.
You've got to reconsider this.
Sorry, but I've already submitted all the evidence of your harassment to my lawyer.
Come on, we were married, right? Can't we just sort this out?
If you refuse, we'll go to court. I won't budge. My words shattered his arrogance, replacing it with a look of utter fear.
I was wrong. I won't do it again. Please drop the alimony and damages. I beg you.
Nope. See you in court. Or should I take this evidence to the police?
What?
Thought you could get away with stalking and dumping trash? You should be thankful I'm keeping this civil.
Fine. Let's talk.
Realizing I meant business, Travis broke down and finally agreed to his settlement. In the end, he had to pay $10,000 in alimony and $30,000 in damages. He looked like a ghost. The reason I didn't go to the police was simple. His misery was just beginning. His family defaulted on the mortgage payments, ignored the warnings, and their new home was eventually auctioned off. They both lost their home and their business in one go. Who'd have thought? Travis and his parents had a massive fight. If only they had listened to me and shut down the factory, or even stood by me over the whole Angelina issue, none of this would have happened. Now Travis's family is scattered. His parents rented a tiny rundown house in the countryside with their meager savings and live in poverty. Travis tried to make a fresh start by finding a live-in job, but Angelina stopped him. I have nowhere else to go, so take me with you. Turns out Angelina was divorced too, because she got swindled in a shady business deal and racked up debt. Learning about the truth, Travis had a big fight with Angelina. He later texted me saying,
"So help me out here."
But of course I ignored him. It seems that despite their fights, Travis couldn't abandon his sister, who had just had a newborn, and he ended up paying off Angelina's debt himself. Friends who've seen Travis told me he's now working all hours, looking like a shadow of his former self. I felt no sympathy for him. As for me, I've remarried a man from my workplace and finally found a peaceful life. He truly cherishes me, and because he's a well-planned individual, I feel secure in our life together.
This is the divorce papers. I've filled in my part.
I see.
Also, the severance pay and savings are all mine. You better apply for welfare.
We've been married 30 years.
All this time I've been serving a domineering husband, even caring for his parents while being bullied by them. There's no room for compassion left for my husband, who degrades me at this divorce agreement. There's someone I'd like you to meet. Huh, what? Did you find a new man or something? Looking at the man sitting next to me, my husband turned pale. My name is Emily. I'm a 60-year-old housewife. I married my husband, Daniel, 30 years ago. Back then, I was in my 30s, long past my prime. To get married, I was deemed the woman left on the shelf. I thought I would have no chance getting married. But then, an arranged date was proposed. The man from the date, Daniel, was the same age as me, shy, not very good at talking with women. I've never had a girlfriend before. I, who was also shy and had never dated a man before, sympathized with Daniel's confession. Moreover, I found Daniel, who spoke honestly without pretending to be sincere, and agreed to continue dating him. Our relationship, both in our 30s and shy, developed smoothly. Emily, will you marry me? Yes, I would love to. The year after our first date, I received a marriage proposal from Daniel, and we got happily married. Immediately after the marriage, we started living together in an apartment. Then I started to see a side of Daniel I had known before we got married. He was like the embodiment of a traditional father figure from the 80s, primarily quiet and serious. He never failed to go to work on time every morning, leaving work at the end of the day and coming back home. A domineering man, he would seriously tell me to follow 3 steps behind me. However, he occasionally came home late after drinking with his colleagues. At those times, he would act like a child saying, I can't move anymore. Help me take my clothes off. But at the time, I even found that adorable. A year after our marriage, I became pregnant and gave birth to our daughter, Emma, when I was 32. Emma was indeed a gem of a child. After giving birth, while I was feeding Emma milk in the hospital room, Daniel suddenly suggested that we live with his parents. Once Emma grows up, our current apartment will become too small. If we live together, we can save on rent, and my mom can help look after Emma, right? It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Thinking life would be easier for me as well, I agreed to his suggestion. But I never thought this would be the start of my misfortune. Why did you give birth to a girl? She can't be the heir. Once we started living with his parents, my mother-in-law started shaming me for giving birth to a girl. Then my father-in-law would say, well, if that's the case, just keep trying with Daniel every night until the boy is born, and throw inappropriate, even sexually inappropriate words at me. What's wrong with these people? Feeling pained by the words and actions directed towards me, I tried to discuss my father-in-law's situation with Daniel. However, he dismissed me, saying, Don't bother me with such matters every time. I'm exhausted from work. And the bullying from my in-laws was a daily occurrence. Due to my introverted personality and having married late, I felt insecure and couldn't stand up to my in-laws. I had endured this for quite some time. Nearly 30 years had passed since then, and I had been caring for my in-laws. Emily, you still haven't prepared my meal? You slowpoke. Mother-in-law, haven't you eaten 30 minutes ago? My mother-in-law had developed dementia and would often repeat herself. My father-in-law, on the other hand, had already become bedridden and could no longer converse properly. My husband Daniel was nowhere to be seen in this zoo-like house. I'm home. Daniel often came home late at night and often wouldn't even eat dinner. He'd just take a bath and go straight to bed. Of course, we hadn't had a proper conversation in a long time. Once the caregiving for my in-laws is over, I can live leisurely with Daniel. Daniel was looking at retiring in about 6 months, and I was getting through the care of my in-laws by looking forward to life with Daniel after that. However, an event occurred that shattered even this ordinary dream. "Emily, can we talk?" I was called by Daniel for the first time in a while, and I hurried over to him. "What's up, Daniel?" "I've decided to quit my job." I was feeling a bit brighter due to this rare conversation with my husband, but this statement by my husband threw me into despair, as if I got thrown off by a roller coaster ride. "Huh? What do you mean?" "There's nothing to it. I've decided to quit my job this month." "What? So suddenly? Did something happen at work? You're close to retiring." Taken aback by my husband's unexpected statement, I inadvertently raised my voice. Perhaps offended, Daniel retorted in a firm voice. "It's my life, and there's nothing wrong with doing what I want. I've been working diligently every day. I'm fed up with this monotonous life and want to enjoy my freedom as soon as possible." "You're doing whatever you want to." "What do you mean I'm doing whatever I want? I mean, there's also the matter of caring for your parents, and I thought it would be better to save as much money as possible." I was so confused that I couldn't organize my thoughts, so the issue of the in-laws' care that I'm currently facing came to mind, and I mentioned the cost of it. I knew it. You were after my money. You've been with me for money. I won't give you a penny, not even my retirement payout. You turned out to be exactly as they said." I was even more confused by Daniel's statement on top of my earlier confusion. "Huh? No, I mean, realistically, we don't know how long the care will continue." "So that's how you're going to play dumb. Always saying caregiving when you get asked what you do with your spare time? Do you have another man, What's up?" What on earth is he talking about? I really didn't understand what he was saying at the time. Caring for the in-laws, who can't be left alone, there's no way I could have time for an affair. Rather, he eats what's prepared in the morning, goes to work, and at night he doesn't even touch the prepared meal, just goes straight to bed. Somehow, he's always out on his days off. Isn't it him who's living a self-centered life without lending me a hand? Despite such thoughts, I desperately tried to clear up this misunderstanding. "No, I absolutely don't have the luxury to do that. I don't even have any spare time. Even with grocery shopping, I only spend about 30 minutes at the nearby market. It's only because they are the parents of my beloved husband that I'm doing this much, even sacrificing my time to care for my in-laws." Why can't Daniel understand that? It was so perplexing. "Shut up. There are people who say they've seen you walking with a man, and I'll never forgive you." Daniel's accusations over something I really had no memory of pushed me to the brink of confusion. And then the accumulated fatigue caused me to feel dizzy. "I can't handle this anymore. I need to get out of here for a bit." Feeling dizzy, I managed to grab my regular handbag and jacket, then ran towards the front door. "See, you're going to meet that man, aren't you? Isn't that right?" Daniel continued hurling insults until I put on my sandals at the entrance and opened the door to step outside. I ran out of the house for about a mile till his voice faded. I was so shocked that I even forgot to breathe. When I couldn't hear Daniel's voice anymore and walked a bit in the night breeze, I pondered on what to do next. But my thoughts were jumbled, and though I hesitated, I ended up calling Emma, my daughter who's currently living alone. "Hello, Mom? It's been a while." The moment Emma answered the phone, tears started flowing uncontrollably. Mom, your father..." I couldn't stop sobbing and could not manage to articulate the situation to Emma. "Whoa, Mom, what happened? Are you okay? Calm down. Let's start by calming down, okay?" Emma, sensing my distress, tried to soothe me. After walking a bit, I found a park and decided to take a break on a bench. I was sobbing so much that I couldn't speak, but Emma kept me on the line, checking on me. Emma, I'm sorry. I must have surprised you, calling out of the blue. After a few tens of minutes, I managed to calm down and started speaking again. No, it's okay. Where are you now? I'm at M Park near our house right now. Oh, I remember playing there a lot when I was a kid. Is Zest, the diner, still there? I looked up and saw the sign of the chain diner across the street. Yes, it's still there. Okay, I'll come pick you up. So just go into the diner and wait for me. You can order something if you want. I'll pay for it. Okay, I'll wait there. Thank you. Feeling my daughter's kindness, I entered the diner. After about an hour, Emma arrived at the diner. Mom, something serious must have happened. You were crying so much. Emma, thank you. I mean, your father said something terrible to me. I told Emma about what had happened earlier. Emma listened to my story with a serious gaze, intently watching me. When I finished speaking, she sat quietly thinking for a while. Then after finishing the coffee she had ordered upon arrival, she turned to me. Mom, first of all, stay at my place starting from today. You don't need to go back to that place. Also, there are a few things I'm curious about, so why don't we head back to my place for a bit, she said. I felt grateful for how strong and dependable my daughter had grown up to be. Although I was worried about caring for my in-laws, I was exhausted and couldn't go on. I decided to rest and rely on Emma for today. Thank you. I'll take you up on your offer, I said. As we left the cafe, Emma took my hand and hailed a taxi to head back to her apartment. Emma was currently working as a writer for a camping magazine. She always enjoyed camping and often does solo camping trips, sharing her experiences on her blog and social media. Originally, she worked as a corporate employee for a general trading company, but with the recent boom in camping, she was scouted via her social media and decided to switch to being a freelance writer. I guess this career as a writer suits her temperament. Nowadays, she contributes articles to magazines not only about camping, but on various topics, making a living. You've always devoted yourself to Dad and the in-laws, Mom. It's unthinkable that they would suspect you now, she said. As we turned off the lights and settled in for the night, Emma began speaking to me. You know, ever since I was little, I thought the way the in-laws treated you was odd, she said. It was clear from the way she referred to my in-laws, calling them the in-laws rather than by their names, that she didn't harbor any good feelings towards them. Moreover, Dad's attitude toward you is strange, too. He treats you like a maid, and even if the in-laws are being mean to you, he doesn't help at all, she added. I was surprised by how well Emma understood the dynamics of our household. Belatedly, I was astonished by my daughter's insightful ability. But your father is busy, I said, trying to defend him. That's the thing that's bothering me, she replied. What do you mean, bothers you? Oh, don't worry about it, Mom. You're tired today. Let's just sleep. Huh? Yes, you're right. I am utterly worn out today. See? You can relax now. Good night. Yes, good night. 3 days after, I started staying at Emma's. I was preparing dinner when Emma, who had been out on a reporting assignment, came home. Oh, what a wonderful smell. Your cooking always smells the best, Mom. Oh, it's been years since I heard you say that. Let's eat while it's hot, I replied. Emma washed her hands and sat at the table. I served the loaded potato soup and sat down as well. Emma finished her plate in no time, happily praising the taste as she ate. After the dishes away, she brought out a coffee and an envelope, sitting back at the table. Then she began to speak with a serious expression. Mom, please stay calm when you hear this. Actually, I hired a detective to track and investigate what Dad has been doing these past 3 days. I was so surprised that I choked on my soup. Huh? Investigate Dad? What do you mean? Well, after listening to your stories, there were some things that got me curious. Like, why does Dad always come home late? And who was the one who tattled about you walking with a man? Seems like Emma's innate insight caught up with Daniel's strange behavior. Being a writer, she had a broad network of connections. This time, her private investigator was also someone she got to know from her connection. Please calm down and listen. According to the report from the investigator, it turns out that Dad was having an affair with another woman. What? I felt my mind go blank. Not only did Daniel suspect me of cheating, but he himself was having an affair. Emma showed me the reports and photos that she had received from her contact. Indeed, there was a picture of Daniel arm in arm with a woman looking quite intimate. This woman's name is Lily, and she's 51 years old. She works at a bar that Dad goes to near our house. Even though Lily is 51, she looked like she's in her 40s, wearing a flamboyant dress with a black background and a pattern of red roses. Dad has been going to that bar every day for years and seems to have become quite close with Lily. Emma relayed the investigator's report to me in a matter-of-fact manner. Can you believe he would betray us like this? While Mom is busy taking care of Grandma and Grandpa, every day he's out having an affair with another woman. Indeed, it's unbelievable. I have been living on the edge without any spare time to even consider such things. I thought I might have been at fault when Daniel suspected me of having an affair. But now, anger is welling up inside me at Daniel's cold actions. It seems that for the past 3 days, Dad has been hanging out at Lily's house. Apparently, he's hired someone to take care of Grandma and Grandpa, and it seems it's not even a professional caregiver. He's left his own parents entirely in the hands of someone who's not even a professional caregiver while he's out enjoying himself with his mistress. I'm so disappointed to think that I've loved such a man until now. I didn't know Daniel was like this. I can't believe it. Right. Seeing how Dad is, I've never really had a good impression of marriage. I'm sorry, but it's always seemed more like an employer-employee relationship between you and him. You're right, Emma. I've woken up now. I want to divorce that man and take revenge. Okay, if that's the case, I'll help you. From there, we, as a mother-daughter team, began to prepare our revenge against Daniel and Lily. First, we asked the private investigator who had caught Daniel in the act of the affair to continue gathering evidence. Then we received definitive proof, such as a photo of Daniel and Lily boldly kissing on the street in front of the bar where Lily works. I can't believe he can do something so shameful without any shame. Additionally, the private investigator who had infiltrated the bar recorded a conversation between Daniel and Lily. Has your wife left and not come back? It's refreshing without that boring woman around. She's probably with the man you mentioned. But aren't you worried that your daughter might demand your retirement fund? There's no way she would have the guts to say such things. She's even resigned from a large corporation and stooped down to some trifling job. She probably doesn't even know that she can claim some amount. Hey, you're right. I'll book that luxury hotel right away with your severance pay. Looking at the city lights at night. Oh, how exciting. Are you coming over tonight? Yeah, of course. Each time evidence like this surfaced, I harbored resentment for Daniel, mixed with anger. Once I gathered enough such evidence, I went to consult with a lawyer about divorce. Given your husband's clear infidelity, you can naturally claim compensation for emotional distress and a share of property. The lawyer mentioned that I could also demand compensation from Daniel's mistress, Lily. Furthermore, as Daniel had neglected my in-laws' care and forced it all onto me, it seemed I could request compensation for that. Now we need some proof to rebut the claim that you are having an affair with another man. To prove that I was not having an affair, I got a recorded data from the surveillance camera that we used to monitor our in-laws. This was something Emma had installed when she returned home 2 years ago. To slightly alleviate my burden, she had it professionally installed. I had Emma set it up so I could watch the footage on my phone, but I couldn't figure out how to use it, and I totally forgotten that we even had one. According to Emma, the data captured by surveillance camera is stored in a distant data center for 365 days. Since Emma had contracted the service and was taking care of the monthly payments, Daniel had no knowledge of the camera's existence. Emma operated the computer and obtained the recorded data. Playing back the data made it clear how I was essentially housebound due to caregiving duties. The recordings also captured the verbal abuse I was receiving from my in-laws. There's also a perfect recording when you stormed out of the house. They really had some nerve, didn't they? Being traumatized, I couldn't bring myself to watch it, but Emma, who had seen it, was visibly livid. After making these preparations, and just as we were about to strike, I received a call from Daniel. "Hey, Emily, when are you going to stop wandering about? We need to talk. Come to the local Zest at 3 p.m. this Sunday." Without a care of my well-being, Daniel merely relayed his message. "Yes, understood," I quickly responded and hung up the phone. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll be with you." With that, Emma made a call to the lawyer. Then Sunday at 3 p.m. arrived. Emma and I, who had arrived at Zest on time, searched for Daniel. However, there was no sight of Daniel, so we took our seats and waited for him. Perhaps we waited about an hour. I spotted Daniel outside the restaurant entrance. However, there was also a woman next to him. That must be Lily. Despite it still being daylight, Daniel shamelessly hugged the woman before parting ways. With a smug look on his face, Daniel opened the door and entered the restaurant. Upon spotting us, he promptly sat down in front of us. "Oh, Emma, you're here too." Unbothered by our glares, Daniel right out began to speak. "Emily, I've decided to divorce you." "Is that so?" Daniel looked slightly surprised at my rather dry response. "This is the divorce paper. I've already filled it out." "Understood." I promptly received the divorce paper. "And the retirement money and savings are all mine," Daniel said. "No, that's entirely selfish. I will rightly receive alimony and a division of property," I responded. "You were just after my money, weren't you? It's disappointing, but I don't plan to give you a single penny. You should rely on welfare to live." We had been married 30 years. All this time, I had served my domineering husband, even taking care of his parents, who were always treating me poorly. Yet my husband, who'd been lusting over some cheap woman, continued to provoke me on this divorce agreement. I no longer have mercy for this guy and his mistress. "Actually, there's someone I'd like you to meet," I said. "Huh, what? You found a new man?" The man sitting next to me made Daniel pale. "Daniel, your wife was telling the truth," he said. "Why is the department head here?" This man was the head of the department at the company where Daniel worked. "I was contacted by a lawyer acting as your wife's representative. She said that you are likely to get a divorce due to your infidelity. She also expressed concern that you would quickly spend your retirement money with your mistress and asked for a temporary withholding of your retirement fund." "Emily, you even told people at work?" Daniel, surprised to the point of bulging his eyes, was interrupted by the department head. "It's our first time dealing with an incident like this. I received a call from your wife's attorney about having a discussion today. Considering that the notice of seizure might be fraudulent, I decided to join since I wanted to confirm the truth.
Despite your own infidelity, you falsely accused me of cheating to evade paying alimony. That's why I took measures to prevent it.
What? You're saying I cheated? Do you have any evidence? Then my lawyer brought in Lily, Daniel's mistress. I'm Emily's lawyer. Lily here is also related to the case, so I had her come over. Upon confirming the situation, Daniel's department head left and the lawyer took a seat next to me. I'm here to claim $60,000 in alimony from Daniel for his adultery and for imposing the care of his parents on Emily, and $30,000 from Lily for engaging in adultery with Daniel, despite knowing he was married and causing Emily's marriage to break down. As soon as the lawyer explained in a businesslike manner, Lily slapped Daniel. You liar! Leave it to me, you said. And now I'm also taking the fall. Daniel, his face red, started to sob. I didn't know Emily was this smart. I watched the ugly squabble of these two with cold eyes, regretting the 30 years I'd spent with this man. Due to the chaotic situation, we showed evidence of Daniel and Lily's affair and adjourned the meeting. Later, I heard from her lawyer that Lily and her parents had visited the law office to agree to the payment of alimony. Seeing Daniel's pathetic face at the restaurant, Lily's feeling for him died, and she broke up with him. On the other hand, the lawyer thought Daniel would request a reduction, but apparently he didn't. Of course, if he doesn't pay, we would take it from his seized retirement fund. I wondered if he was screaming in pain from having to take care of his parents. I have not taken care of them since then. I only took good care of them because I loved Daniel, and they were his parents. But without that love, I could no longer bear the unpaid labor in that hell. Daniel has always been dumping his responsibilities on me. It's only natural that Daniel should take on the role of caregiving. The elderly care surveillance Emma had installed was removed by a contractor the day of their meeting at the diner, so there's no way he would know what was going on. I ended up moving into Emma's place. I was only able to get back at my husband thanks to Emma. It's always been said that children are treasures, but to me, Emma feels more like an angel than a treasure. With this incident, I managed to distance myself from Daniel's family and painfully realized how little attention I was able to give Emma. As her mother, I plan on making up for that by spending time with Emma and creating many more memories with her.
My name's Jennifer, a 32-year-old working professional. My husband Donnie is a 30-year-old employee, and we tied the knot 2 years ago. While he might come off as somewhat unreliable, he's a gentle soul who's perfectly capable of handling housework. I'm a driven working woman, gaining satisfaction from my work and the results I achieve. I work in the New York metropolitan area, a meritocratic environment where hard work is rewarded. However, there are possible relocations and no precedent for maternity or parental leave. Female employees tend to resign upon getting married or having children. I, too, preferred work over housework and initially had no intentions of getting married. When Donnie proposed to me, saying he wished to marry me, I turned him down, stating, I like my current job. I'm a section chief now, but I want to aim higher. I can't imagine settling down or having kids. Yet Donnie understood me, promising that we would share housework and wouldn't have kids. Eventually, I gave in to his understanding nature and agreed to get married. We both work, so sometimes we don't exactly split the chores as planned, but we help each other out, and I think we manage pretty well. We've had our share of annoying comments from my in-laws like, prioritize your home over your work, or, aren't you gonna have kids? But it's not too troublesome since Donnie always stands up for me. Living with Donnie has been a pleasant experience, and I've come to appreciate the beauty of married life. Then one day, I was called by my supervisor, the department manager, for a potential transfer to a branch office. He asked, What do you think? The place of work would be a regional branch, but you'll be called back to headquarters after 2 years. You'll be a section chief at the transfer location, and if you keep up the good work, promotion is guaranteed upon your return. You could even become the first female department head. Not a bad offer, is it? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that acceptance or rejection of this transfer determines if one is on the promotion track in my company. Everyone who's progressed to department manager or beyond has experienced a transfer. If refused, one would remain a section chief, with demotion or transfer to an irrelevant position being a possibility. Before marriage, I would have grabbed this opportunity without hesitation. But now, as a married woman, I felt restrained. I told my department manager, "Thank you for considering me. I personally would like to consider this positively. However, since this involves a transfer, I would like to discuss it with my husband. Could I get back to you after that?" He responded, "Oh, right, you're married. You can choose between going alone or moving with your family. Discuss it properly. I'll be expecting a positive answer." Upon returning home, I discussed this with Donnie. "I've been offered a transfer. I might have to go to the countryside, but if I work hard for 2 years, I can return here. If I continue to perform well, I can get promoted." "I want to accept this offer if you're okay with it, Donnie. We can either move together or I can go alone. What do you prefer?" Donnie seemed surprised at first, but after some thought, he responded, "Your dream can come true if you accept this transfer, right, Jennifer? I can't move with you because I have work here, but don't worry about me and go for it." With Donnie's encouragement, I informed the company that I would be moving alone for the transfer, and I began negotiating terms and conditions. As a result, the company agreed to cover my relocation expenses. Factors such as being treated as on duty during commute days when returning home from my remote work location, and an overall decent benefits package convinced me to accept the transfer to the branch office. Then I officially received the transfer order and decided to relocate to the countryside. It seemed I could rent a company apartment at a low price, so that's where I decided to live. On the day of the move, the movers had already transported my stuff, and my husband came to see me off at the station. "Thanks for seeing me off. I'll be in touch regularly and will try to come home as often as possible." "Yeah, I'll be waiting. Just because you're working remotely, don't go overboard." "You too." "It's about time. Take care." "Okay, I'm off." And thus my life as a remote employee began. I planned to return home during long holidays and slower weeks, but unexpectedly, trouble arose at the branch office right after my transfer. "I can't work under a woman. I can't trust someone who just came out of nowhere." I hit a local barrier as the employees wouldn't acknowledge me. I was the subject of baseless rumors. My instructions were not followed, and even my phone calls were not transferred. During such times, a serious mistake occurred in a project that a subordinate had been advancing, deliberately excluding me. The subordinate in charge was pale with shock. Of course, as his supervisor, this was my responsibility. I was caught up dealing with the problem, apologizing, not just recovering the lost ground, but also needing to improve relations with the subordinates. My supervisor, seeing my plight, gave me some advice. "I've experienced a transfer myself, so I understand your struggle. It may seem unfair, but you can't force your correctness here. It's important to communicate well, understand others, and make connections horizontally." Taking my supervisor's advice, I worked on creating horizontal connections by spending more time with everyone at the branch. I had not joined the neighborhood association, but I learned that the company's rental housing was part of a neighborhood association group, so I joined there too. Before I knew it, I was struggling to find personal time and couldn't make it back to my home where my husband was waiting. I kept in touch with my husband, but after a few months of working remotely, it became difficult to reach him at night, by phone or through text. "I'm working late every day because it's tough at work. I was tired and fell asleep." Since my husband said things like that, and I was also busy, I listened without suspecting anything. Focusing more on my work, I continued to immerse myself. One time during a long holiday when work was slow, I decided to return to my home in New York at short notice. However, I couldn't reach my husband by phone or text, so I returned from my remote work location without notice. When I opened the door to my home for the first time after a long time, something felt odd. Then, a woman I didn't recognize rushed to the door, saying, "Justin, welcome back. If I knew you were coming home early, I would have prepared." The woman and I, seeing each other, were shocked into silence. Breaking the silence, the woman was the first to speak. "May I ask who you are?" "And who might you be? This is my home."
"There must be some mistake. I live in this house."
After arguing back and forth without resolution, we decided to step outside to check the house number. To my surprise, the nameplate was the custom one I had ordered. "The key fits, the nameplate's correct. This is my house. I'm gonna go in."
"Wait, what do you mean? Stop it."
Ignoring the women's protests, I pushed past her and made my way into the house. Once inside, I noticed everything had changed. The curtains, the furniture, all the interiors. There was a framed photo in the living room of my husband and the woman at a theme park. Mugs I had never seen before in the kitchen. Unfamiliar toothbrushes and skin toner in the bathroom, and women's shampoo and conditioner in the shower. The bed linen was a design I'd never seen before, and there was nothing of mine left in the wardrobe, just the women's clothes. My husband's belongings were hidden in a room at the back of the house, as if the woman had moved in and taken over. While I was standing there shocked, I heard the front door open. "I'm home. Oh, Lola, did you invite a friend over?"
"Justin, thank God you're back. This woman just barged into our house."
The man that the woman had chosen as Justin was unmistakably my husband. Seeing me, my husband was startled. "What are you doing here?" "Johnny, since when did you become Justin? Can you explain what's going on?" I confronted my husband.
"What are you talking about? This is Justin, right, Justin?"
"Well, you see, I mean..." Pressed by both of us, my husband was flustered. "Lola, this man's real name is Donnie. Isn't that what's written on your driver's license? And I'm Donnie's wife, Jennifer."
"That's a lie. He said he was divorced."
"Donnie, you're gonna explain everything clearly, right?" "Jennifer, you hadn't come home much and I was lonely. So I casually signed up for a dating app and met Lola." "I see. So Justin is your alias on the dating app?" "No, that's not it. I thought it would be a problem if my real name came out, so I used a fake name, keeping my last name the same." "And why did you lie about being divorced?" "In Lola's dating app profile it said, 'I've only ever attended all-girls schools and have never dated a man before. Looking for someone who's willing to be serious about a relationship with the goal of marriage.' That really tugged at my heartstrings, so I lied about being divorced to woo Lola, hinting at marriage, and we started living together." "Huh? Why would you do something like that?" At that point, my husband defiantly started to justify his actions. "It's your fault for always being away for work. It's natural for a man to desire a woman. We've been leading separate lives because of your business assignment and the overtime and weekend work. I just wanted a warm home where my wife would be waiting for me with dinner ready when I come home." I was shocked at this confession, as I'd always thought of my husband as understanding towards my work.
"But that doesn't make what you did right. What you did is the lowest of the low. If you wanted to be with another woman, you should have divorced me first. Why didn't you do the right thing?"
"I loved you both. I never planned on leaving either of you."
"After all you've done, it was obvious I would find out when I came back. It's unbelievable that you thought you could hide and deceive me."
"What? It's your fault for breaking your promise and not coming back here. If you'd just come back, I wouldn't have even thought about cheating."
"What the heck? I've explained to you that work has been really tough and I couldn't help it."
Our argument devolved into a shouting match, while the woman my husband was cheating with stood there, pale as a ghost. The other woman realized she'd been deceived by a married man and dragged into his childish game.
"So it was all a lie. You've made a fool of me. I'm leaving right now."
"Lola, wait, it's not what you think."
My husband tried to stop the other woman, who was packing her things and about to leave, but his attempt was brushed off. "Don't touch me with your filthy hands. I can't believe a single word you say."
Cursing my husband, the other woman left for her parents' home. I decided to punish my husband for this, gathering as much evidence as I could and bringing it back with me. Once I returned to my work assignment, the first thing I did was hire a detective to investigate my husband's mistress. The investigation revealed the woman was the daughter of an executive at my husband's business partner. I had a lawyer send documents proving the affair to both my husband's home and the other woman's parents. Upon receiving the documents, my husband protested, saying he didn't want a divorce. So I prepared myself for a long battle,
even considering taking the matter to court. The other woman's family contacted my lawyer, and we decided to meet at their office. The other woman and her parents showed up and apologized to me.
We're so sorry. Even though we didn't know about it, our daughters caused you so much trouble.
Our daughter is very serious and sheltered, so she's naive about the world. We're trying to arrange a marriage for her with someone we approve of, but she longed for a freer love. She met your husband without us knowing and got carried away without really knowing who he was. She said she met a divorced man on a dating app and wanted to move in with him. We told her to stop seeing this man, but she didn't listen. She was so caught up in her fantasies, she ran away from home to be with him. Our daughter was shocked to learn she was the other woman, and blames herself. She's now attending therapy. We're willing to pay you a settlement of $50,000, and we ask that you keep this matter to yourself.
The other woman and her parents shook hands with me firmly. I understand your feelings. I will accept your apology on one condition. I'm preparing for a divorce, but my husband refuses to agree. If you're willing to cooperate when it comes to providing testimony if this goes to trial, I'll agree to the settlement.
Okay, we'll cooperate, but our daughter is young and we don't want a permanent record if this goes to court. Is there any other way we could assist you in punishing him? Luckily or unluckily, his workplace is our client.
So, in an unexpected twist, the woman my husband cheated with and I joined forces. We conspired to teach him a lesson. His workplace would soon face a blow because he'd angered an executive at one of their client companies. This mess, of course, would be pinned solely on my husband. Back home, his parents, oblivious to the turmoil, were trying to reach out to him as they always did.
Jennifer is not answering our calls, and she won't return them either. Is she so engrossed in work that she forgot about us? When is she coming back? We miss seeing our grandchild. Mom, you don't understand. I cheated on Jennifer while she was on her assignment, and now it looks like we're heading for a divorce. His mother responded, That woman who neglects Donnie to focus on her job is to blame. Maybe it's better if you break up with Jennifer and get back together with the woman you had an affair with. Apparently, my in-laws figured that the other woman's family seemed wealthier than ours.
So, they sided with my husband and his lover, launching a barrage of attacks against me. They repeatedly called me, but I blocked their calls. They started calling me at work. When I refused to speak to them, they came to my workplace, creating a scene and causing a ruckus.
Please let go of our son. It's because you're such a woman that our son had an affair. He'd be happier with his lover, so stop getting in his way.
And I said, What on earth are you talking about? I want to divorce Donnie. He's the one who's refusing. Besides, the woman he cheated with has no intention of getting back with him. After all, he tricked the daughter of a business executive into dating him. They're pretty angry. It's going to be a lot of trouble. The moment they realized their son had angered a major client, my in-laws suddenly switched sides and tried to cozy up to me.
Oh no, we didn't know it had come to this. We must have misunderstood. We're sorry. Our son is a fool, but he's remorseful. You'll forgive him, won't you, Jennifer?
I must decline. You just finished berating me, and now you're asking for my forgiveness? Please leave. They refused to leave, so I had them escorted out by security. Since they had caused a commotion, my company decided to sue them for business obstruction. After all that, I finally received my compensation from my husband and got my divorce. The other woman's family also demanded compensation for violation of her chastity and her psychiatric treatment costs. With the loss of his standing at the company due to his mistakes, and having to pay hefty compensations, my husband was now drowning in debt. He couldn't afford to quit, and he was cornered. 2 years had passed since my assignment started when everything finally settled down. I finished my assignment successfully and was getting ready to return to the main office. My hard work had paid off, and I'd been promoted to the position of department manager. Had I not taken the assignment, I might still be living in a loveless marriage. But I guess a man like him would have had an affair sooner or later, and I would have clashed with his parents. I've realized that I really am better suited for work than family life, and I'm incredibly fulfilled and happy now.
It's been a decade since we tied the knot. Every year, we've made a point of visiting my in-laws' place during the Christmas holidays. As it does every year, that time is fast approaching again. The truth is, every year's Christmas is a severe strain for me. Yes, that's right. I've been having major issues with my mother-in-law, and just the thought of it weighs me down. As December draws near, I feel my spirits sink lower and lower. Every year, I rack my brains, wondering if there isn't some way out of this. My name is Lisa. I fell in love with my husband at work, and we've been married for 10 years now. I knew my mother-in-law was a bit of a busybody when we went to announce our engagement, but I never thought things would come to this. I suppose I should have been more level-headed, but at the time, I was so smitten with Paul that I didn't see the signs. I remember it as if it were yesterday. I splurged on famous chocolate as a gift, but my mother-in-law's first words were, "You shouldn't have bothered. I hate chocolate. You were so rude to give me what I don't like." Caught off guard by her words, all I could say was, "I'm sorry." One can tell a lot about you from a simple gift. I wonder if you can get along well with Paul, she said. After 3 years of marriage, I finally got pregnant and I gave birth. My mother-in-law was making a fuss about how useless I was as a wife for giving birth to a girl. Her words hit me hard as I was dealing with my first childbirth. And since then, problems with my mother-in-law only got worse. "Lisa, why didn't you give birth to a boy who will be the heir? We don't need a girl. Please give birth to a boy. If you can't do that, you're disqualified as a wife." Paul should have married a younger wife. A wife older than her husband is the worst. My mother-in-law would say things like that without considering my feelings. Of course, I talked to Paul about it, but he had no intention of defending me. "Don't take everything she says so seriously," he would say, which was just horrible. Each time, I would confide in Sarah, my sister-in-law. I've been getting along well with her since the first time I was dating Paul. And since I'm an only child, I saw her like a real sister. But my mother-in-law would call me every day asking if I had a child yet. I couldn't stand being treated as if my daughter was unwanted. And then my mother-in-law started asking me to send her money behind Paul's back because she was having a hard time. I couldn't ignore the fact that my mother-in-law was in trouble. And then, 2 years after the birth of my daughter, I was blessed with a second child. I thought that if it was a boy this time, I wouldn't be criticized, and I was on tender hooks until I found out the sex of the baby. But when I went for a checkup, the doctor told me it was a girl, and I was at a loss for words. And so began the phone onslaught from my mother-in-law again. "Lisa, don't you know the sex of the baby yet?" "I'm sorry, I don't know yet." "Modern hospitals should be able to tell. There's no way they can't." "I'll let you know as soon as I find out." "I don't want another girl. Sorry." I was so upset and complained to my sister-in-law. And so I gave birth without revealing the sex of the baby. When they told me, "Congratulations, it's a girl," I could only imagine my mother-in-law's demonic face, and all I could do was laugh. And my mother-in-law never once showed up at the hospital. But it was all the better for me. My mother lives 20 minutes away by car, and I had left my older child with her for the birth. My mother brought my daughter to the hospital, and we were happy to have a new family member without anyone complaining. I went back to my parents' house with my mother and my older child for a month. The month I spent relaxing with my mother at home was a time of nostalgia and relief. And when my younger child's 1-month checkup was over, I returned home, but I hadn't heard a thing from my mother-in-law. And then, several months passed, and the usual Christmas holidays were upon us. I was spending every day with a heavy heart, but I couldn't avoid it, and I thought she might be in a better mood once she saw her grandchildren. So I decided to bring a famous cake this time. And on the day, Paul drove us to our usual steak restaurant. As I wondered what would be said, my heart was pounding. When we entered the reserved private room, my in-laws were already there. Despite her grumpy demeanor, the arrival of my brother-in-law and his wife soon had the meal off to a lively start. Of course, the conversation turned to my younger child, and everyone was excited, but I noticed that my mother-in-law's face was tense. I sensed something was wrong and tried to change the subject when, "You can't even give birth to a boy? You're a useless wife! You're not part of this family!" My mother-in-law suddenly started saying terrible things. And then she deliberately knocked over the tea that was in front of her. "Oh, I'm sorry. If your daughter gets a burn on her face, no one will know she's a girl." Suddenly, I was overcome with rage. My mother-in-law despised me for not giving birth to a boy. During a meal with my in-laws, the moment my mother-in-law said, "What a complete letdown of a woman!" a plate suddenly flew from where my father-in-law was sitting. What are you doing?" I was just shocked. I couldn't believe the usually mild-mannered father-in-law would throw a plate. This time, it seemed like my father-in-law turned the table on mother-in-law, which I must admit felt good. Next, my father-in-law yelled, "Enough! What right do you have to say such things? The child born has no sin. The real letdown of a woman is you." "What are you talking about? Don't joke around. A wife who can't give birth to a boy is like garbage. Such an insolent woman." "What are you, who only gave birth to boys? I wanted a girl, but the child that was born has no sin. It doesn't matter if it's a girl or a boy." "There's no way it doesn't matter. Boy, 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 boy. Only boys have value. Worthless wife, worthless granddaughter, hopeless. See, you admit it, so you have nothing to say." I was holding back my tears, but at the moment when I was about to break down with a sound, enough already. Lisa has given birth to 2 children. What more do you want? They're not your children. You don't help raise them. You just demand a boy out of your own selfishness. If you want a boy that much, why don't you give birth yourself? Of course, that's impossible for an old woman like you. Hey, stop it now. What you've been doing isn't just bullying. Even when you got an expensive chocolate, you said, "I hate chocolate," even though you can't afford to buy such a chocolate. When will you have a child? I don't need a girl. You're useless as a wife. Serve me. Send me money. Get a job and make money. You're getting carried away, you stupid-looking old woman. Then my brother-in-law clapped his hands, and after him, Paul also started clapping. Huh? What's going on? I didn't understand anything. I'm a man, so I didn't get involved, but I'm surprised. My real mother is a professional daughter-in-law bully. Huh? What are you talking about? I don't understand. Who's bullying daughter-in-law? You. There's no one else who would do that. I was almost abandoned by my beloved wife. Huh? Men are insensitive and useless, brother. Absolutely. In comparison, women's intuition is terrifyingly accurate. You can't cheat. Hey, what are you saying? It's obviously a joke, Sarah. Take over. Roger? What? Are you guys some kind of fraudulent group? What do you think of your real mother? What do you mean, fraudulent group? You're talking about yourself. What? Why me? You know a man named Mr. Brown, right? Huh? I don't know such a person. What are you talking about? My mother-in-law was clearly flustered. She was trying hard to change the subject with an innocent look. Then, my sister-in-law continued the conversation. What's this daughter-in-law bullying circle? Huh? I don't know. I don't know such a thing. Catch old mother-in-laws and invite them to the circle. Teach the members your invited techniques, traps, and ways to bully their daughter-in-laws. Every week you hold seminars and have a good time with the outrageous old ladies. You've been practicing the daughter-in-law bullying. You're a shitty mother-in-law. Invited by Mr. Brown, you were helping and aiding. Mr. Brown's aim was to earn money by holding seminars, but Mr. Brown was short of funds and was extorting you. You were extorting Lisa for money every month. When the money didn't come in as you expected, you vented your frustration on Mr. Brown and practiced daughter-in-law bullying. Do you think such a rotten, shitty mother-in-law will be forgiven? Mother-in-law, what does this mean? That's not true. Everything Sarah is saying is a lie. I want you to stop. Then what's this? My sister-in-law pulled out an envelope from her bag and showed the photo, and my mother-in-law's eyes were wide with surprise. This is a photo from your seminar, right? You're looking pretty friendly with Mr. Brown. And what's this? Walking arm in arm is strange, isn't it? This is unacceptable. I was confused by this unexpected event, but now I understand why you've been bullying Lisa. My wife is too strong-willed. You can't win against her. Stop joking around. I didn't know anything and let it slide, but it won't go unpunished. Misunderstanding! Enough. Let's stop. I haven't done anything. After all, you're just misunderstanding and overreacting. It's natural to have a few close friends. Then it happened. From the next private room, the voices of a few women laughing and talking could be heard. Hey, do you remember? Patricia from the 3rd district who was in the same class at elementary school? Ah, you mean that mean devil Patricia. I heard she got caught by a man and is giving him all her money. And apparently that man has started a mother-in-law harassment circle, where he invites mothers-in-law who want to harass their daughters-in-law and hold seminars or something. Oh, I know! Harassing her daughter-in-law? That's just the kind of thing that devil Patricia would do. And she's apparently investing money every month because the guy is short of money. She seems to be told that he'll return the money tenfold, but that's definitely impossible. That man has a family, and his daughter is disabled and living in a wheelchair. So she's being fooled by such a man and might destroy her own family? It's a wonder that her family hasn't collapsed so far. The face of the mother-in-law rapidly turned pale and stiffened. And then the father-in-law opened his mouth. Your life is over. What are you talking about? I've come this far without knowing what kind of woman you are. All the terrible things you've done to Lisa were simply because you are foolish as a person. Lisa, I am truly sorry. I apologize. It's not your fault. Please don't apologize. What? It sounds like I'm the one who's wrong. Just stop it! I haven't said anything wrong, and I've been complaining because my daughter-in-law isn't good enough. Don't blame me. She's such a terrible daughter-in-law after all. The terrible daughter-in-law is you. You got married, hiding everything from me, then demanded money from the kids when they became independent and give it to other men. You are a scammer, aren't you? A scammer? The fact that I have been serving you until now is true. It's a joke to be called a scammer for that. You've been serving me? What on earth have you done for me? I've been taking my shirts and suits to the dry cleaners myself and mostly have dinner outside, only returning home to sleep. That's right, when we were little, Mom wasn't at home, and dinner was like snacks or sweet buns. We always wondered where she was going. What are you talking about? Exactly. We were told not to tell Dad anything. We thought it was strange from that time. She didn't even come to school for portfolio days or interviews. When I was taking high school entrance exams, the only person who helped me was my teacher. I was in trouble because I didn't know which school to go to. I was moved when I ate good, homemade food for the first time after getting married. Supermarket side dishes were a luxury. How could a mother like that blame Lisa? Lisa is a hardworking mother and a good wife. Don't keep quiet. Say something. You can't say anything. You thought what you've been doing wasn't found out, so you got carried away. You had no idea that the conversation would turn into this today. I wouldn't keep quiet about this. I've been talking to my father-in-law for a long time. What did you say? You have to leave this house today. We're getting divorced. Divorce? Why is this happening? It can't be helped because Lisa is my child, right? They're so close they fight. Don't mess with me. Are you going to play me more? I also knew that you had been cheating on me since your 20s, but I kept quiet because of the children. That's why you can't get rid of the habit of cheating. You're walking arm in arm with a friend? I've never seen such a friend. It's over. Your life ends here. You can do whatever you want from now on. Wow, I didn't expect that. So that's why she wasn't at home. It's impossible not to have time to make dinner for your children. It's funny that such a person was pretending to be a good mother-in-law and complaining. It's not a joke. I've sold our house and all that's left is to submit the divorce papers. I've been fooled for a long time. Now I can live my own life, properly. You sold the house? What are you doing without my permission? I won't get divorced. No matter what you say, it's too late. I don't think I'll ever see you again. If you have any complaints, please contact my lawyer. Huh? What will happen to me from now on? I don't have a house. I don't have any money. How am I supposed to live? Why are you taking away my happiness at this age? You're the one who kept taking away Lisa's happiness. Before, you took it from me too. It's just that it's come back to you. Please rethink. I admit I was wrong, but please don't divorce me. Don't make me laugh at this point. It's decided. You have to leave the house tomorrow. I've warned you. The divorce is decided, so I'll go home now. Me too. My father-in-law had been pretending not to know about my mother-in-law's cheating habits since long ago. Thinking about my father-in-law's feelings made my heart ache. I can't imagine how much he loves his children. And finding out that he had been planning this divorce all along, I felt a bit relieved. I wanted my gentle father-in-law to lead a free life. I had always thought that when I saw my in-laws. Age has no bearing on life's choices, because my father-in-law should have a life of his own, and I was filled with gratitude towards my sister-in-law who helped me. I never thought she would consider so much for me. It made me realize once again how wonderful a family can be. I wanted to have a good relationship with my father-in-law in the future, so I wished to live with him. And I wanted him to interact with my daughter, his grandchild, who he hasn't seen much until now. It's a family restart from this age, but I want to make it the best life. When my father-in-law called me Lisa, I truly felt like we were family.
Truth is, my ex-wife died in an accident. I'm thinking of taking in our twin daughters, but that's probably not okay, right? Sorry for such a talk. I blurted out. It's fine, came the upbeat reply from my wife. I thought for a moment I'd misheard her. Wait, are you sure? We're talking about adding 2 kids to our family. It's okay. Bring them home, she said. I couldn't fathom why she agreed to this sudden proposal, and then she explained. My name is Hayden. I've been married to Lisa for 2 years now. I'm divorced, and this is my second marriage with Lisa. My ex-wife cheated on me, which led to our divorce. My ex, Amy, was flamboyant and sociable, the exact opposite of me, with a large circle of friends. I am a simple guy, but Amy liked the fact that I was a key player in a renowned corporation, so she decided to marry me. Amy's advancements were so persistent that I ultimately gave in and married her. Life with Amy was enjoyable in its own way. I'm grateful to Amy for giving birth to our twin daughters, who are my world. Just as our twin daughters Molly and Clara turned 2, Amy abruptly declared, I want a divorce. I'm pregnant with another man's child. At first, I couldn't comprehend what she was saying. My anger flared up, and I demanded to know who the man was. The father of Amy's child was a frivolous man, whom Amy met often. He was one among Amy's large circle of friends, and even attended our wedding. I couldn't believe that a man who attended our wedding would then go on to have an affair with my wife. I couldn't bear to breathe the same air as Amy anymore, so I took Molly and Clara and moved back with my parents. We filed for divorce, demanding compensation, but I couldn't win custody of my daughters. I'd heard it was difficult for fathers to win custody of young children, but it was hard for me to accept that even though the mother had cheated, I couldn't secure their custody. Regardless, I couldn't overturn it, and was granted visitation rights to see Molly and Clara by paying child support, looking forward to the days when I could see my girls. I had no choice but to continue living. I tried to create as many happy memories as possible whenever I saw Molly and Clara, to ensure their memories with their dad were joyous ones. We would go to theme parks, visit zoos. I did everything I could for my adorable daughters, but I could no longer live with them. Once I dropped them back with Amy, I would get on the train home alone. One such day, I suddenly realized I was crying. My wife had been stolen, my daughters taken away, and I felt empty. I was so emotionally drained that I didn't know what I was living for. A grown man crying on a train must have been an odd sight. As people distanced themselves from me, Lisa approached me. Are you okay? If you're not feeling well, we can get off at the next station together, she offered. I found Lisa to be quite unusual with her genuine concern. I wondered what she stood to gain by being kind to a man like me. I'm okay, I curtly replied. People who are okay don't cry, Lisa responded, handing me a handkerchief, and indeed, she got off at the next station with me. I stopped as Lisa suggested calling over a station attendant, and sitting on a bench on the platform, I confided to her about my miserable situation. As I spoke, she nodded attentively, making me realize what an unusual person she was. You'll be fine, Hayden. This might be a dark period in your life right now, but brighter days will come. I was genuinely comforted by Lisa's words. Using the excuse that I wanted to wash and return her handkerchief, I got Lisa's contact information, and we began to meet frequently after that. Lisa, who is kind to everyone and treats every person with the utmost kindness, was even more of an oddball the more I got to know her. I even started suspecting if she had any ulterior motives. However, Lisa was not the type to be cunning or double-faced. She often made endearing blunders, and I found myself falling for her. Each time she would call out, "Hayden, what should I do?" in panic, seeking my help. We ended up getting married as a result of my approach towards her. You light up my life, Lisa. Will you marry me? The moment Lisa laughed joyfully at my embarrassingly sincere proposal, I knew I would never forget it for the rest of my life. I was still able to meet Molly and Clara on a regular basis as always. Even after the birth of our son Tom, I continued to see them. Lisa was aware that I was paying child support and knew I had twin daughters. But I couldn't bring myself to tell her about my meetings with Molly and Clara, fearing it would upset her. Feeling guilty, I lied to Lisa, saying I was going to hang out with friends whenever I went to see Molly and Clara. Lisa would see me off with a smile and say, "Be careful." One day, while thinking that I should eventually tell her that I was regularly meeting with Molly and Clara, I received a sudden, shocking message. "Amy died." The message was from Amy's mother. Amy's mother, with a crestfallen look on her face, informed me that Amy had died in an accident. Amy, her current husband with whom she was having an affair, and their child who was born to them, were all killed in a tragic car accident during a road trip. Amy's mother told me that she couldn't take care of Molly and Clara, as her own health was failing, and their grandfather had passed away earlier. The moment she said she would have to put Molly and Clara in a facility if no one could take them in, I found myself instinctively saying, "I'll take them in." Amy's mother thanked me, but I was immediately consumed by a sense of guilt for having given an impulsive response. After all, I had my own family now with Lisa and Tom. Feeling it was unforgivable, I decided to discuss this with Lisa. Actually, my ex-wife died in an accident. I want to take in the twins, but that's not okay, is it? I'm sorry for bringing up such a topic. What? That's awful. No, it's fine. I was startled by Lisa's response. I was prepared for divorce, or at least a look of disgust. I thought I had heard wrong. You're okay with it? This means we'll have 2 more kids. That's fine. Bring them home. They must be scared with their mother suddenly gone. With that, she urged me, who was still in a daze, to prepare to go out. Putting on my shoes in the foyer, I asked Lisa, "Why are you forgiving me?" She laughed at me with a slightly bewildered expression. You silly. After all, you've always been loving towards the twins, Molly and Clara. I noticed. You've been visiting them regularly. Why? Well, you always seem so cheerful when you return from these sneaky outings. I knew you wouldn't cheat on me. Pretty good detective, huh? Lisa joked, and I immediately understood she was trying to cheer me up. At the same time, I came to realize how big-hearted Lisa was. "Thank you," I said, and then I headed to my in-laws' house by car to pick up Molly and Clara. At only 5 years old, Molly and Clara, suddenly left all alone, were asleep in their grandparents' house, huddled together for mutual support. Seeing the traces of tears on their cheeks truly pained me. I thanked my mother-in-law, woke up Molly and Clara, and tried to explain the situation as simply as possible so that even children could understand. They cried at the thought of never seeing Amy again, but they said they wanted to live with me. In the car, I talked to Molly and Clara about Lisa and our baby, telling them how kind and wonderful Lisa was, and that our baby was still very small and adorable. The girls looked anxious. When we got home, Lisa had prepared a feast. She had cooked dishes that she thought the children would like, and she introduced herself to Molly and Clara with a warm smile. I'm Lisa. I'll be living with you two from now on, so let's get along. I know you must be very sad right now, but don't worry. You have your dad, and of course, I'll be here too. Lisa spoke to Molly and Clara in a gentle voice, and without seeming bothered by their lack of response, she encouraged them to eat their fill. The girls timidly started eating, but it must have been really good, because they soon started eating enthusiastically, which was a relief to me. After giving Molly and Clara a bath, I found that Lisa had already bought bedding for the kids. Since I had been using the car, Lisa had brought the bedding back on her own. That was quite a task. Lisa chuckled, but all I felt was gratitude. Molly and Clara refused to sleep with Lisa, so I ended up sleeping between the two of them. When I apologized to Lisa for the girls' behavior, she comforted me, saying, It's okay. It's too much to expect them to adjust so quickly. Right now, you're the only one who can support Molly and Clara emotionally, so don't worry about me and just do your best. Lisa laid out a mattress in the living room and slept there. During the night, Molly and Clara cried in their sleep, and I spent a painful night. After that, life with Molly and Clara went smoother than I expected. Lisa didn't mind when Molly and Clara gave her skeptical looks. She would scold them like a real mother when they were mischievous, and she would comfort them gently when they were crying. One thing I noticed after living together was that Amy had not been very affectionate towards the girls. Molly and Clara tried to do everything on their own. They would open the refrigerator on their own when they were hungry, munch on cheese, and even lay out and put away their own bedding. At first, I thought they were very independent, but their behavior seemed odd. Lisa also consulted with me, and we concluded that Amy may not have taken care of Molly and Clara very much. The clothes that were sent as Molly and Clara's belongings were shockingly few. Whenever Lisa would prepare a meal, they would ask, Will Lisa share the food with us too? They seemed puzzled by the concept of bathing daily at first, and it appeared that until then, they had been bathing only once every 2 days. What's more, these 5-year-old kids were taking baths on their own. The story of Amy going on a trip with her husband and the child born between them, only to encounter an accident, seemed strange from the get-go. Why weren't Molly and Clara taken along on the trip? It was clear that the girls had been treated poorly, and I couldn't contain my anger. I can't forgive Amy and her husband. Once they had parental rights, they had a responsibility to make Molly and Clara happy. So why didn't they take care of them? I was trembling with rage, but both Amy and her husband were no longer alive to bear the brunt of it. With nowhere to direct my anger, I clenched my fists tightly, and Lisa spoke. Hayden, I understand your anger. I'm angry at Amy and the others for not properly raising such adorable children like Molly and Clara. But being consumed with anger at people who are no longer in this world isn't going to do any good. The greatest revenge on Amy and the others is to ensure that Molly and Clara find happiness living with us, don't you think? So let's shower them, and of course our son Tom, with lots of love. Don't be consumed by anger and hatred for the deceased. Lisa's calm and gentle words made me break down in tears. Despite regularly meeting them, I hated myself most for not noticing the treatment Molly and Clara had been receiving. Trying to blame myself, Lisa consoled me, saying, It's okay, Hayden. You're doing everything you can. To fulfill my own responsibility as a father, I dedicated myself to being a good father for Molly and Clara, and of course our son Tom. Initially, Molly and Clara were wary of Lisa, but gradually they warmed up to Lisa, who always spoke to them brightly and casually. Although they initially refused to even sleep together, nowadays, both Molly and Clara want to sleep next to Lisa. The two of them would fight, each saying, Lisa is mine. But Lisa would hug them both at the same time and say, No need to fight, darlings. I love you both. It's okay. Lisa's words, "It's okay," were like magic. Always positive and bright, Lisa, who would reassure us with those words, was a blessing to me, Molly, and Clara. Time flew, and Molly and Clara became fifth graders. For Parents' Day, the theme was Halfway to Adulthood, which made Lisa and me nostalgic. We also had a halfway to adulthood ceremony when we turned 10, during our elementary school Parents' Day. I remember we made presentations about our feelings towards our parents and our treasures. At Molly and Clara's school, it seems that they're required to write an essay for their halfway to adulthood ceremony. The theme of the essay is family, and I was a little worried that Lisa might feel uncomfortable. If Molly and Clara focused on writing about Amy and her husband in their essay, it might hurt Lisa. I even shared my concerns with Lisa, but she just laughed it off, saying, "Even if the essay was entirely about Amy and her husband, I wouldn't mind at all. For Molly and Clara, their life with them was a part of their happiness, right? Isn't it a good thing after all?" With the twins, the trouble is deciding which parent will attend which day on Parent-Teacher Day. It's a sad story for me, but both Molly and Clara asked for Lisa to come. To make it fair, I had them decide who would get Lisa through rock, paper, scissors. Molly was the victor, and Clara was quite down about it, which made me rather sad. Is it so bad to have Dad come? Dad loves Clara very much.
It's not that. Clara loves Dad too, but I wanted Lisa to hear me out.
I worried that Clara might already be in her rebellious phase, but I understood why Clara wanted Lisa to listen when I heard the content of the essay she read on Parent-Teacher Day. Clara had written about Lisa in her essay. Clara mentioned her life with Amy and her husband in her essay as well. It seems that their life together wasn't a particularly happy one. Yet Clara wrote that she felt helpless when her mother passed away. When I came to pick them up, Clara was happy to live with me, but she was scared of living with Lisa, a stranger at the time. But then, Clara started talking about what Lisa had done for her, the time they took a bath together and played in the bubble bath for the first time. When she cried late at night because she was lonely, Lisa stroked her head until she fell asleep. When Clara fought with Molly, Lisa reassured both of them, saying she loved them both, which made Clara very happy. In her essay, Lisa was nothing less than a mother.
I want to call Lisa Mom, but I'm still too embarrassed, so I haven't been able to call her that. I plan to call Lisa Mom for the first time.
I couldn't help but cry when Clara concluded her essay reading like this. Some of the parents around me also seemed to be tearing up, and even the teacher was wiping away tears. After Parent-Teacher Day, Lisa, who was with Molly, also had red eyes and a red nose. When I asked her what happened, Lisa said Molly had also read a similar essay. Molly and Clara must have planned it. They held hands, nodded to each other, and then together said to Lisa,
We love you, Mom,"
with bright smiles. Lisa hugged Molly and Clara, bursting into tears, and said with a trembling voice,
"Mom loves Molly and Clara so much."
Being a crybaby, I naturally bawled. Our family is living happily. At some point, the idea of getting revenge on Amy and her husband had disappeared. I just want to protect this lovely family of ours. All of this daily happiness is thanks to Lisa. When I told Lisa thank you, she smiled back and said,
"No, thank you."
I can't thank her enough.
I had never been sick a day in my life, and yet here I am. Rushed to the hospital, I find myself hooked up to an IV, lying in a bed. My husband and mom-in-law look down at me with disdain. We're supposed to be family, living under the same roof. "Useless wife," she muttered. I can't believe my eyes when they place divorce papers in front of me. My name is Sophia, and I'm 52 years old. I lost both parents in an accident as a child and was raised by my grandmother. She supported me through vocational school, and I fulfilled my lifelong dream of becoming a child care worker. Life was fulfilling until my grandmother, worried about my lack of love life in my 30s, introduced me to my now husband, Mason. I was inexperienced with relationships, but I fell for his kind face and slightly pushy demeanor. Quickly tied the knot when my grandmother's health suddenly deteriorated, hoping to give her peace of mind. After she passed away, she left me a small inheritance.
"Because it makes me look bad,"
Mason said, and I became a housewife at his request. We used my inheritance as a down payment on a house in an upscale suburban neighborhood. Mason's high salary and our beautiful new home, everything seemed perfect. But then, reality hit us hard. We couldn't have children. By the time we considered fertility treatments, it was too late for me, and we decided to live a modest but happy life together. But there was one person who wasn't happy about this. It was my mom-in-law. Our relationship was never great, but after we decided not to have children, she started harassing me every time we visited.
"You're just an immature woman who can't have kids. At least work hard when you're here."
Excuse me? As I am standing there, baffled, my mom-in-law smirks and says,
"Well, isn't it nice that the daughter-in-law takes care of all the housework? Come on, let's relax in the living room."
My relatives follow her lead and exit the kitchen. I appreciate that my relatives would say,
"Thank you, take care. Let us know if you need anything."
But not a single person offered to help me. I guess it makes sense. No one dares to challenge my temperamental mom-in-law, and nobody actually enjoys working in the kitchen. Perhaps because it's the countryside, there's always been a level of gender inequality at my spouse's parents' house. Centered around my father-in-law, the man would be drinking and making a ruckus while the women were busy with preparations. But I never thought all this work would fall on me just because we can't have kids. I can't handle alcohol, and it might be easier to work alone in the kitchen than deal with drunkards. Sighing deeply in the empty kitchen, I recall a recent moment when I stepped into the living room to serve the food. My relatives praised my work, but what my mom-in-law said was shocking. After I left the room, she openly called me
"Wife who can only do housework, and that she's so clueless. I have to direct her all the time."
Mason, whether he knew about this or not, was happily drinking away. I wish he'd back me up a bit. When I sneakily talked to my husband about her attitude, he dismissed it, saying,
"It's normal for a wife to do household chores at her in-laws, and it's normal for a husband not to speak highly of his wife. You're overthinking it."
Still, if I don't visit my spouse's parents' house, not only will my mom-in-law be upset, but Mason would be too. Even when I finally get a break, often all that's left for me to eat are leftovers. I know going to my spouse's parents' house isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I actually look forward to it. The reason? My niece Emma, who's my sister-in-law's daughter. We don't have any relatives close to her age, so when the uncles start getting loud and rowdy, she escapes to the kitchen where I am.
"Auntie, can you help me with my homework?"
Sure, come here. You see, I used to work part-time as a tutor. So while snacking on some treats, Emma and I would sit at the small kitchen table. I'd help her with her homework, or we'd play some card games. My mom-in-law adores Emma, her only grandchild, while everyone else also finds her charming. The pressure of their high expectations bothers her.
"I'm just a kid, and they're already talking about me going to Harvard or becoming a politician.
It's too much.
Yeah, your life is your own, I say, nodding, and she smiles relieved.
My dream is to help people, but let's keep that between us. Grandma can't be too much,
she says, winking. She's just so adorable. I can't help but wonder what her child would have been like. My mom-in-law doesn't like how close Emma and I are, but holds her tongue, likely fearing she'd alienate her grandchild. I love Emma, and she's fond of me too. Getting through the challenges of visiting back home became easier with her by my side. As time passed, a grown-up Emma started helping me out with all the housework at my spouse's parents' home. Alongside her, my sister-in-law, who occasionally visited, started lending a hand as well. Life at my spouse's parents' home gradually became more comfortable. Then one cold day happened. As I hurriedly prepared for the morning, the phone rang loudly. What could this be about so early in the morning? Mason grumbled, picking up the phone. An emergency at work, perhaps? What did you say? Mason's loud voice made me stop what I was doing. What happened? My dad. What? Turns out my father-in-law had suddenly passed away. He apparently had a heart attack when he went to the chilly kitchen for some water late at night. By the time my mom-in-law found him in the morning, he was already gone. He had been so lively just a month ago. Mason and I immediately went to my spouse's parents' home. Surrounded by a mournful atmosphere, the wake took place. That evening, while I was busy welcoming condolence visitors, I noticed Mason talking quietly with his mom in a corner. I was curious, but too busy to ask. I figured I could ask later and moved on. After the funeral, while relaxing at home, Mason spoke to me with a pleading tone. Hey, can we talk? Mason approached, his demeanor unusually pleading. Sure, what's up? I was instantly on guard, sensing his unusual demeanor. I have decided that we're going to live with Mom. What? I barely swallowed the scream that had risen to my throat. You can just drop that on me out of nowhere. Look, it's our duty to take care of our aging parents, plus it's what Mom wants. I couldn't believe it, living with that mom-in-law. When did you decide this? I wasn't consulted at all. Why do I need your permission? I bought this house. It's my mom we're talking about, and you're living on my earnings. I was at a loss for words. I couldn't believe he'd force such outdated beliefs on me. I've been working hard at home too. Besides, I became a housewife because you wanted it. Don't complain to me when you haven't earned a single dollar. His shout made me flinch. Mason let out a long sigh and glared at me. Who pays your mobile phone bill? Who bought your new morning attire? Even your makeup? I cover the cost. Living with Mom is decided. If you don't want to lose this lifestyle, then don't complain. Yes, Mason does financially support our lifestyle. But I thought we had a deal. He works outside, I take care of home. I have no parents to fall back on, no savings. And finding a job is not as easy as it sounds. For me, the idea of being apart from Mason was terrifying. Fine. I had no choice but to accept living with her. Life became hell once my mom-in-law moved in. With no relatives around to hold her back, she harassed me more than ever before. She complained about everything I did, from cooking and cleaning to laundry, morning till night. I'm stuck at home, lazing around on the sofa in front of the TV every day. Sometimes my mom-in-law goes out and comes back with random purchases, blowing through the money she got from selling her house and dipping into our savings.
I'm back. Went down to the station and got you your favorite cake,
she says, ignoring me
and starting a conversation with Mason.
Oh, looks tasty. Wait, why are there only 2 slices?
Obviously, one for you and one for me. Sophia, make us some coffee, will you?
Am I just a convenient servant here? If only Mason would take my side, things might be easier. Living with Mason has been like living with a child. Rather than standing by me, his wife, he always puts his mother's words first. Even when I tell him how I'm being jerked around by his mom, he says,
Don't you feel sorry for Mom? She's all alone in a new place. Try to be nice to her.
As if I'm the one at fault. Between a selfish, mean mom-in-law and a spineless Mason, I'm starting to feel pretty lonely. Fast forward 3 months. After sending Mason off to work as usual, a sudden sharp pain strikes my stomach. The pain is so intense that I collapse onto the floor. I'm sweating bullets. This isn't good.
Excuse me, Mom-in-law.
I muster the strength to get back to the living room and see her, watching her morning soap opera and sipping coffee.
Could you pass me the cell phone? I need to call Mason.
What? Just get it yourself. Besides, Mason just left. He can't answer calls on the bus.
Mom-in-law refuses to listen to my emergency.
I'm in extreme pain. I need to call a ride to the hospital.
You want to bother my son at work for a little stomach ache? Not on my watch.
I reach for the phone and dial 911. Soon enough, an ambulance pulls up with sirens blaring.
What? Why is there an ambulance? Did you call it?
She looks shocked, as if she never expected this.
If you won't let me call Mason, what choice do I have?
This is completely unnecessary.
Her face flushes red with anger. The rescue squad quickly loads me onto a stretcher and takes me away.
You're in safe hands. We're headed to the nearest hospital.
The paramedic assures me. When was the last time someone spoke to me so kindly? Just as I start to feel relieved, my consciousness starts to fade. When I come to, I'm in a hospital bed. It's already dark outside, and there's my mom-in-law, dressed to the nines, and Mason still in his suit, sitting next to me with stern faces. According to the doctor, it looks like I have a stomach ulcer. The moment the doctor leaves after telling me I'll be hospitalized for a week, Mason lets out a deep sigh.
So you collapsed right after I left for work, huh?
Is he worried? A glimmer of hope arises in my heart, but I was sorely mistaken.
Why didn't you call me instead of summoning an ambulance? Such a drama queen.
My tiny glimmer of hope vanishes in an instant. I felt as if that small light of hope was snuffed out, plunging me into darkness.
You're always like this. Getting your priorities all wrong. Is that why you're so inefficient at housework and stressed out? What a hustle you are.
Oh, please. The real stress is 70% you, Mom-in-law, and 30% you, Mason. I'm too stunned to speak. As I fall silent, Mom-in-law smirks and says,
A homemaker's job is to keep the house in order. And you're planning to slack off in the hospital for a week? You're a disgrace as a wife. Let's just get divorced.
In Mom-in-law's wrinkled hand, there's a piece of paper. Yes, it's a divorce paper.
Exactly, Mom's right.
Mason chimes in, smirking as he starts filling out the form.
Wait.
I panic.
What happens to me if I'm abandoned now?
I try to snatch the form from Mason, but my body won't cooperate. As Mason finishes filling out the form, he chuckles, seemingly amused at my situation.
See? She can't even live without me.
Mom-in-law, holding on to the divorce papers, looks at me and said,
How pathetic.
Mason laughs along. Stunned, I watch as Mason places my favorite bag and an envelope in front of me.
Here's what you'll need for your stay. We're busy, so get whatever else you need yourself. This should cover it.
Inside the envelope is money, presumably for the hospital bills. Oh, thanks. Sorry you had to dip into our savings.
Savings? No way. We didn't use that.
What? My hope dies again.
We cashed out your insurance. We've had it for years, so the termination refund was substantial. Use what's in the envelope freely. I'll use half for our living expenses.
I can't believe he'd cancel my insurance without asking, especially when we had savings. And he's using half for living expenses? Planning a vacation while I'm hospitalized? I became certain of it. Mason and Mom-in-law couldn't care less about my well-being. I'm both sad and angry. Glancing down, I see the divorce papers.
The divorce thing was a joke. Relax.
Mason smirks, noticing my look. He signed it, but it's a joke? I can't help glaring at them, but both are still laughing. Something in me snaps. Why am I even in a family with these people?
That envelope doesn't include transportation money. Let me know when you're discharged,
Mason says as they leave. As they walk away, I crumple the divorce papers in my hand. Numbly, I open the bag. Inside, besides my wallet and a pen, there are just a few added towels. I never thought they knew where my pajamas and underwear were, so it's as I expected. I have to buy almost everything new. Just as I sigh, the curtain around my hospital bed opens slightly. A nurse? I slowly looked up and I couldn't help but gasp. No way! There, standing right in front of me, was Emma, my beloved niece, now a full-fledged nurse. We were both so happy at this unexpected reunion. When I told her why I was in the hospital, she got angry as if it was happening to her. I never expected to find an ally here. I was so happy. I almost cried, and then I saw an opportunity. I won't rest until I make those two who look down on me regret it. So Emma and I started to devise a plan. After about a week, free from the stress of Mason and my mom-in-law, I was recovering well and set to be discharged tomorrow. I was on the phone in the empty room when it happened.
We heard you're getting discharged, so we thought we'd come.
In walk Mason and my mom-in-law. Mason holding a bag from his favorite cake shop.
We have to visit the wife at least once or people will talk.
I pulled the phone from my ear, setting it screen down on the table, and sat on the bed, nodding. Thank you for coming. They pulled up chairs near the bed and sat down.
You've had plenty of rest. You'll be working again from tomorrow.
What a way to say hello. Sure enough, there were 2 cakes in the bag on the table. They brought cakes for a hospital visit, but none for me.
Why don't you go buy some coffee from the shop? Our son used his precious day off to visit you.
I don't think I have any money left. I spent it all on pajamas and underwear. I shook my head, and my mom-in-law audibly clicked her tongue.
Can't even buy a single coffee when you're the one causing inconvenience by being in the hospital. You lazy woman.
Who's lazy one here? Just then, the curtain around the bed whisked open, and a smiling nurse appeared. Is it fun for you to harass your daughter-in-law in a hospital, Grandma? What? My mom-in-law's face turned pale with shock, and for good reason. The nurse was Emma, her most cherished granddaughter.
You don't work at this hospital, Emma. Why are you here?
I just transferred here. I was surprised too. I got called in to help, and when I came, I found my aunt here with a gastric ulcer. She doesn't smoke or drink, so I couldn't believe it until I heard what you just said. Emma's icy, stern words left my mom-in-law trembling.
No, you misunderstand, Emma.
No use making excuses. My words enraged my mom-in-law even more.
Shut up, you!
Sure, I can shut up, but you do know everything is being heard, right?
What?
I lifted my phone and showed her the screen. It displayed a call in progress with my sister-in-law.
What have you done?
My mom-in-law's accusation was cut off by my sister-in-law's voice over the speaker.
What's wrong with you, Mason? Your wife is hospitalized and this is how you act? Enough is enough!
Hearing my sister-in-law shouting, even Mason shrank back a bit. Sister-in-law and my niece are such justice-oriented folks that you'd think they were from a different family than mom-in-law and Mason. The idea to secretly listen in on the conversation between Mason and mom-in-law in the hospital room was all sister-in-law's plan. After watching Mason and mom-in-law shrink in size, I turned to sister-in-law again.
Sister-in-law, thank you so much.
I hang up the phone and look at Mason, who's all shriveled up. I haven't just been sleeping and resting this week, you know.
You filed for divorce a week ago, right?
I'll agree to it. Let's get divorced.
What?
Mason stares at me, dumbfounded. Of course he is. He never thought a housewife with no job or place to live would willingly let go of her current life. His baffled expression is so priceless, I can't help but laugh. Annoyed, Mason yells,
You have no job, no home. What are you planning to do?
I calmly answer, I'll work at the hospital. Emma's boss lives in the neighborhood. I explain the situation and everything is set. Never thought I'd be indebted to a neighbor like this. Mason counters.
You're not a doctor or a nurse. How can you work in a hospital?
Emma interjects with a smile.
Uncle, you really don't know? This hospital employs various professionals, not just doctors and nurses.
Emma winks at me as I watch Mason, flabbergasted. It's the same kind of eye contact we had while tutoring or playing card games at the spouse's parents' house.
I'll be working in the hospital's child care center. They even have dormitories, so housing won't be an issue.
I declare confidently. Mom-in-law, defending Mason, who's lost for words, angrily thrusts her wrinkled hand at me.
Stop joking. If you're not my daughter-in-law, pay the full hospital bill.
No, I'll take it. Oh, by the way, I'll be invoicing you for the divorce settlement later.
What?
Do you know about asset division? I can claim half of the assets that Mason and I saved together.
What are you saying?
Mom-in-law trembles. Mason shakes his head in confusion, but I just smile.
Also, since I was hospitalized due to stress from you and mom-in-law, I'll be claiming damages in a divorce court. I have witnesses here too.
Emma's icy stare focuses on mom-in-law. Unable to withstand the unexpected situation, mom-in-law and Mason flee the room. 2 cakes are left on the table in front of us.
Emma, you like sweets, right? It's a waste to throw them away. Let's eat.
She nods with the same youthful smile as always. The next day, I'm discharged and submit the divorce papers. Later, under the condition that I won't claim damages in court, Mason agrees to pay a generous amount for asset division. That's when I found out, apparently, the rumor had spread from Emma's boss. Mason and my mom-in-law were being talked about in the neighborhood as the villains who sent me to the hospital. Once I started getting used to my new life, I get a chance to hear about them from Emma, who lives in the same building as me. They'd been living together for a while, but their days were full of constant arguments.
My elderly mom-in-law couldn't handle the chores that her son demanded. She tried to get help from her daughter's home, but her daughter-in-law or sister-in-law had always disliked her. She was promptly turned down. Of course, the rest of the family found out. They are now estranged. Their biannual family gatherings have ceased to exist. As for me, I am receiving guidance from a younger colleague, and despite the challenges of returning to work, my days are fulfilling. I can't get enough of my children reaching out their tiny hands for some love and affection. I occasionally go to lunch with my niece Emma, both as workplace colleagues and as friends. I may not have my own family, but I have Emma, who's like a daughter to me, and the chance to interact with children who are adorable as grandchildren. This is more than enough for happiness. During nap time in the nursery, I start to hear the soft snoring of a little girl whose back I've been rubbing.